Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, award-winning author and social innovation researcher. We're your hosts of the Culture Profit Podcast.
Your place for purposeful company culture strategy.
Learn from HR pros, executives, and thought leaders how to prioritize profits by prioritizing people.
This episode is sponsored by Mobrium, the best friend of forward-thinking HR leaders, helping you strengthen your employer reputation as a reflection of your real culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for being with us.
Today, we'll be talking all about remote work and how it impacts people and business. Joining us is Alex Helsen, founder of Destination Remote, the newsletter that takes you around the world. Thanks for being with us, Alex.
Thanks, Matt and Krista. Super happy to be here and to be able to talk about remote, my passion, with you guys.
And where are you calling in from today?
So today I am in Belgium, but I am only here for summer because I live in Mauritius. So we're here to visit family and friends. And in a few weeks, we're heading back to our home place in Mauritius, which is a very, very small island on the eastern side of Africa.
Wow, that is pretty cool. I like it.
Awesome.
It is.
Very tropical. So
we can say that.
A little bit more about you. Alex is a remote work advocate who helps other advocates speak up and build an authoritative brand on LinkedIn. He founded the Destination Remote newsletter to share weekly tips for remote workers to be more productive. In the newsletter, he meets remote company founders, employees, and freelancers worldwide.
So just to kind of kick things off, Alex, tell us why you started Destination Remote.
Yeah, with pleasure. So basically, I recently quitted my full-time job to go all by myself. I always knew, well, it's been a few years that I've been really passionate about remote work. Like some of my friends call me Mr. Remote because I'm always talking about remote work on LinkedIn. And you know, there's a lot of people creating newsletters and everything for at the moment. And I also wanted to share something, but I didn't really know what. I knew it would be around remote, but I just didn't want to be yet another newsletter. And then one day I stumbled upon a guy who took challenges all over the world. And it gave me an idea like, okay, let's talk about remote and challenges all over the world. So I was like, hey, let's meet one remote worker in every country of the world and have them share tips. And the fun part is like these can be like Krista said in the intro, freelancers. It can be founders of companies. It can be just employees. Like it can really be anyone. So I just wanted people to share their tips both on the company side as on the person working side. So I wanted to share this with people and make it fun, have people also meeting new people. So yeah, that's a bit where it all started and it all came from.
What a journey. That's awesome. So
It is.
looking back, I think a lot of people, we think about during COVID how there was this huge shift to remote work. And now companies have kind of called a lot of employees back to the office, and some have still embraced that either fully remote or a hybrid situation. So for you, you're an advocate of remote work. Tell us from your perspective how culture can drive greater profits.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I really am an advocate, but I'm kind of not someone who wants to force remote work. And this is again responding to your question about the culture, is that for me giving the chance to people or the choice, the flexibility to people to choose from where they work and have kind of a flexibility, that's where you can really make a difference. The hard part is for many companies is you really have to be intentional about it. You really have to go for it and create a remote first culture where you give the opportunity to people who come in the office but also who work remotely to be or to get the same opportunities within the company to grow, but also you give them the same tools to be productive as they are. So often we see that companies saying, okay, we're getting people back into the office, thinking that people are going to be more productive in the office. I mean, spoiler, it doesn't work like that. It's just like about how you manage the people, and I think this is really important in remote work. It's all in the company culture, and I have a really good example about it. After COVID, I switched jobs. I worked at a unicorn tech company in Belgium, which was really nice. And the company had a great culture because we really could work from anywhere we wanted. They were really flexible around the timing we wanted to work. And people just were more productive and worked better and were more motivated because we got this flexibility, and our employee really trusted us. So it was not like if I wanted to go to the hairdresser at 10 a.m. for 1 hour, I just went to the hairdresser and there was no problem about it. And people were just like, okay, as long as his output is good, his job is done, we're happy about it. And of course, we had coaches and everything to be productive. There was a real support, but there was not like this micromanaging part where you had to be present in the office to make sure that your manager could pass by, check on your computer if you were actually working or if you were rather chilling on Facebook or something. So this is
Right.
where, for me, on the cultural parts, it makes a real difference. And I mean, if you have happy, motivated people who are loyal and they feel like they belong, they have a sense of belonging with other employees and everything. I mean, profit is gonna come by itself. You don't have to do anything. Well, you don't have to do anything more. Of course, you still need to put the effort in it, but it's for me, it's like one of the main points to have a profitable company is to have people who are really motivated and who wants to deliver good work because they know you are trusting them. So this is really my opinion. So it's not about forcing people into remote or forcing people back to the office. It's about giving them the flexibility to work when they are best at their work and when they are most product, where they at the moments and at the places where they can be most productive.
I love that you say like you don't want to force one or the other upon people, because I think for a lot of people they've tried remote work and it doesn't work for them, and for a lot of
Absolutely.
people it really is the better option, or having one a little bit of both is like the perfect optimized thing for them. And so just having that trust, a culture of trust, a culture of like you provide me what I need, and I'll give you that flexibility, and then having the employee be able to do what's best for them. I think that's the kind of culture you want to shoot for.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think, like you said, some people will feel better going to the office sometimes a week or even full time. Others won't, and that's the beauty of it. For me, the remote work is more a work from anywhere, where rather than work from home or work not in the office or work in the office. It's really like about flexibility. So totally, you got it. Like that's what 100% what I meant.
Yeah.
And one other thought that I had, just kind of hearing Krista's statement and also your experience, Alex, is I've done a lot of employee engagement surveys over the years, and I've seen that trust is a critical driver of employee engagement. And oftentimes, what leads to trust from the employee side is opportunities, both with projects but also not feeling micromanaged. Like, I would see the word like micromanaged, or phrases that describe micromanagement, or as a lack of trust, and it feels like you're not free to do your best work because someone's always looking over your shoulder, whether that's
Hmm.
physically in the office, right? Like what you said, your manager walking by and seeing if you're on Facebook, or if you see that your manager is always chatting you like, hey, how much progress have you made on this project? It's like,
Hmm.
I'm aware of the due date. I'm working on it. I'll keep you posted. Like that feeling, whether it's, in the office or remote, there can be a feeling of empowerment or a feeling of micromanagement.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have that trust in place.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is exactly like what you're describing. This is exactly where we're gonna see a big shift in the coming years. And well, talking about profitability because it's the main topic here also, but it's gonna lead to it because I mean, people who if you get the trust, you don't want to break the trust. You want to keep it. You want to be trusted because you know that if you're trusted, you're gonna keep growing. You'll get new opportunities to grow within the company, but also on a personal level. And once you lose the trust, well, better switch jobs because like it's really hard to re create the trust that you had in the beginning. So this is 100% something super important to build trust and to show it to your employees. Not tell them I trust you, but just show it. For example, like you perfectly said, by not asking every 5 minutes, hey, where are you standing? Or like, how far are you in the project yet? No, just give them a date. And if at the end of the project they're not done, then you know that maybe you can trust them because they're not they didn't respect the deadline. But if everything goes well every time, just leave them. And if the work gets done, the work gets done. So
Totally. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen and what we've just discussed a little bit is that there's some drawbacks with always in person, always in the office work, and there can be some downsides also to remote work, and maybe the hybrid is the answer. But what advice do you have for someone who's looking to work remote with whatever drawbacks there may be there?
yeah, so that's something really interesting because that's one of the main points that I personally want to address about remote. Because a lot of people hear, oh, you get the freedom, you get the flexibility, and wow, that sounds amazing. But it's not all like all good and everything is perfect. There's definitely a lot of drawbacks. I would say that the first thing you have to do is really have a kind of an introspection if remote work is really good for you, if it's something you really want. Because I know some people they just don't want to be alone all the time, or for example they say yeah but I can go to a co-working, and then they see the prices of a co-working and they're like okay maybe I'll just stay home because I can't afford going to a co-working, or and my company doesn't want to pay for it. So really think it through before going. That's like the main part because it is not for everyone. um, but if you do it well, if you work remotely in a good way, it's really fun. But you have to know yourself first. This is one, and then the two others that I have had myself, and I see a lot of people I talk to, they had it as well. Is the loneliness. You can pretty quickly get lonely. So the first thing you have to do is make sure that you have a good social life. They have a hobby, something that you know that at least a few times per week you'll just go outside and do something. Um, Boundaries also very difficult, because we say like okay there's a lot of numbers on, yeah, the average American wins about 1 hour a day on commuting, but then in the end there's like over 50% of remote workers that are actually spending that time to work more because they just can't set boundaries, and they can't just close their computer at the end of the day, and they're always connected. So this is also something that you really should be aware of. And I didn't do it at all in the beginning, and it's really hard. If you don't do it from the beginning, it's really hard to change. But if you start doing it right from the beginning, it's way easier to maintain on the long term and to get this healthy life, work life balance where you can really separate both. So those are two of the main things. There's a lot of other stuff, but these are like the things you should know. Like have some self discipline to take a hobby, go to it, see people, have social interactions, meet new people, reach out to people. It can be online as well, but just don't isolate completely, and set some clear boundaries. And there's a lot of tips which my remote um, the people I'm interviewing, I every week ask for three. So I share every week 3 tips to avoid feeling lonely and to be a better or more productive remote worker. And you see that most of the people, they really have the same issues, and they give tips for these 2 or 3 elements that I just mentioned. So this is like the 3 main points I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I think there definitely needs to be an element of introspection to kind of ask yourself, is this a good situation for you? And nobody knows yourself better than you, right? And so that's important. And I think managing, loneliness with some very purposeful social interactions, that's critical. I know for myself, I try to have lunches every so often with friends and coworkers and peers. Well, I guess not necessarily coworkers, but other people that I know from my network, and also setting those boundaries is key. I was reading your newsletter from yesterday, and I saw the 3 tips you shared from Pedro in Mexico. He said you want to stick to a routine, and have some consistency there. You want to take regular breaks, get up and move, so you're not just too stationary sitting at your
Hmm.
desk or wherever you're working. And then I really liked that he mentioned practice self care and take that time to prioritize some exercise and make sure you're getting good sleep and healthy
Yeah.
nutrition. Like all those things are good in general. Like I actually ran college in track, and our coaches would ask us about our eating and sleeping and those types of things, because with running, it's a very calculated sport, right? Like unlike football or basketball or soccer, where you can't predict how a play is going to go. You can predict which direction you're going to run,
Hmm.
and you know how much how much power and energy you have based on your inputs of sleep and energy and exercise. And I think remote work can be pretty predictable in that same way. Like where you're going to work. Hopefully, you've got a setup that's consistent for you. What type of work you do. You should know what type of people you work for if you're freelancing, and or if you're an employee, who you work with. And so there's a lot of predictability that if you take some time to be intentional, you can really win at remote work.
Yeah, that's 100% true, and I think it's something that most people are not aware of until it happens. But yes, you said it very well. It's not only in remote work. It's really something very important in life in general. Um, because there's also a lot of unhappy people that are in office, working in offices or just in their job, no matter if it's remote or not, and working on your self-care and taking into account, listening to your body and your mind, listening and know before something bad happens, like a burnout or back pain because you're sitting too much and you're not exercising. You just need really to listen to your body before it's too late, and that's really nice, and that's one that most remote workers I chat with, it just like it comes up over and over again. A lot of people mention it, and a lot of people say I underestimated this in the beginning, but now I make it kind of a priority because otherwise I just feel my energy and my motivation slowing down and plunging. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think those tips you mentioned and that Matt mentioned, like stick to a routine, take regular breaks, practice self care. I think that can also include people who are at the office all day. I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's just when you're at the office, those kinds of things are almost forced upon you because you have to be in your desk at a certain time. So that routine aspect kind of happens naturally. And maybe the office has certain things in their culture that kind of get you up and out of your chair, here and there, or you have to go to the bathroom and it's further away than in your house or something, right? So
Hmm.
but I think those tips are just as important for those who are working in person. And I just wanted to add, as so I am a mom of four, and for I was able to work at the university near our home for quite a long time, and it was remote work that even made working for them accessible and possible for me. I did actually go to the office for a long time before COVID, but there was some hybrid work there, and they were so nice to let me bring my kids to work actually. So
Oh.
that made it possible for me to get out with my kids, which as a mom was a super positive thing. But as I got more children and I got to number four, that was like I had number three right before COVID and then number four after COVID. But so it was totally remote by the time that I quit my job. And I was just so grateful to my employer, and I really worked hard for them because I was so grateful that they gave me that flexibility.
That's that's exactly what I mean. Like it's always a give and take. It always goes both ways, and if it doesn't go both ways, I mean, then probably or you are very bad at choosing your company, or you're very bad at recruiting the right people. But
Yeah,
if
and the
you give to
relationship
people and they
won't
don't
last.
give back, there's something wrong.
Yeah,
And so that's really true. Like you said, if they did this, or no matter if it was especially for you or it was their culture, but the fact that they did this, it gives you more motivation to do well for them, because you know that you're lucky to be there, and you don't want to well, you want to show you're grateful by showing that you put in the work. So,
exactly.
and that's what that was something that I wanted to add with the profitability whole concept for companies. I think there's, well, your most important asset of a company is the humans you have in it. There's like, it's for sure and the culture you build is definitely going to impact the your profits, and the way you run, and the way the company goes, and the future of the company, like over the long term. So yeah, and like, you don't have to convince me anymore. I'm already convinced about it.
Yeah, I know I'm preaching to the choir there, but that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks so much, Alex, for tuning, and thanks all to all our listeners for tuning into the Culture Profit podcast. We are just so excited and we're trying to implement these tips into our own life. We've had a lot of adjustments with being remote, working together too. But thank you for all the tips that you shared today, and also to companies to provide that flexible culture for their employees. Thanks everyone for listening in.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, guys, and hope to speak very soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Culture Profit podcast, and for being a part of our journey to prove that putting people first is best for business.
Today's episode was sponsored by Mobrium.
Want to get more employee reviews and streamline your employer reputation? Visit mobrium.com.
Now go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.